Well, in yesterday's reading, we were introduced to Samson. And in the book of Judges, whenever the Israelites cry out to the Lord from the suffering that they're dealing with, we see where God sends a judge to deliver them. And God is sending Samson to deliver them. Now, the Philistines, they ruled over Israel. They caused the Israelites to suffer. And so God is sending Samson to judge and to deliver the Israelites from Philistine oppression. And how does Samson respond? His life is to be set apart by the Lord. If you go back and look at Judges chapter 13 and verse 5, he is to be a Nazirite. He is to be the leader to deliver the people from the Philistines. And how did he respond? Let me read to you Judges 14, verse 1 through 7. And Samson went down to Timnah and saw a young Philistine woman there. He went back and told his father and mother, I have seen a young Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as a wife. But his father and mother said to him, can't you find a young woman among your relatives or among your own people? Must you go down to the uncircumcised Philistines for a wife? But Samson told his father, get her for me. She's the right one for me. Now his father and mother did not know this was from the Lord, who wanted the Philistines to provide an opportunity for confrontation. At that time, the Philistines were ruling Israel. And Samson went down to Timnah with his father and mother and came to the vineyards of Timnah. Suddenly, a young lion came roaring at him, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully on him, and he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. But he did not tell his father or mother what he had done. Then he went and spoke to the woman because she seemed right to Samson. As I said, Samson was called to deliver his people, the Israelites, from Philistine oppression. From the very moment he was born, he was placed under a Nazirite vow. We see that in Judges 13 and verse 5. And if you'd like to read more about the requirements of the Nazirite vow, you could go back and read Numbers chapter 6 and compare that with Samson's life. And you'll see where Samson breaks every one of those requirements of a Nazirite vow. And as leader, he should have been leading the people away from the enemy, to not be like the enemy. But what do we see? We see here in Judges 14 where he's going after this Philistine woman for a wife. And we see where he continually chases after Philistine women. We see his life is full of interactions with Philistines instead of Israelites. His life, he's going after the Philistines instead of what God has called him to do. His whole life. And why did he do this? Well, I think chapter 14 and verse 7 sums it up. Because it seemed right to him. You know, too many times in our life, we live our life the same way, doing things and going after the things because it seems right to us. But what we have to do instead is to read the Word of God, to know the Word of God, to know what is right to the Lord, and go after those things that are right in the Lord's eyes, to live for Him and not live for ourselves. And so don't live a life that revolves around what seems right to you, but live a life that revolves around the things that seem right and are right to the Lord. Hope you join me again next time as we continue the book of Judges.